Hello and welcome to the Norway's Connection session at the Microsoft Build event. My name is Maxim Salnikov. I work as Developer Engagement Lead in Microsoft Norway, and today we will discuss skilling and learning on cloud technologies. I call this session What and How to Learn About Cloud in 2021. And next 30 minutes we'll try to identify what to learn, what could be trending in the cloud tech this year or upcoming season, and how to learn. And to know about that, I gathered friends of Microsoft in this studio, representatives of customer and partner companies, to know how that works in their companies. So with great pleasure, I want to introduce my today's guests, Lilian and Morten. Could you please introduce yourselves?
My name is Lilian Larsen and I work as a channel manager cloud at CON017.
My name is Morten Bakken. I'm working as a cloud architect at Visma.
It's nice to have you in our studio, dear guests. And let's start from the introduction of our companies. Let's provide some quick technical profiles for our dear visitors to understand better which learning practices work in which companies. Lilian, what about your company?
Thank you, Maxime. CON017 is a global provider of software managed services and software asset management. We are about 2,000 employees globally, and the headquarters is in Norway, where we are about 500 employees. And we are an Azure expert MSP.
Awesome. We'll definitely dive into the details of learning and skilling in CON017. What about you, Morten? Which company are you representing?
Sure. So I'm with Visma. Visma is also a multinational company, headquarters in Norway. We have customers, we have development centers all across Europe. So Visma delivers a wide range of software products, the main ones being ERP, CRM, HRM systems, payroll systems. And we're delivering to everything from single-person companies all the way up to large enterprises and public sector. We're around 12,500 employees, 4,500 developers. Not purely a cloud company yet, but quite a large chunk of those developers are working with cloud-related projects.
Awesome. Now I think we understand which scale of the companies we are talking about today. And let's start our discussion from what happened last year or last season. So let's look back a bit. What kind of projects did you deliver if we talk about cloud technologies? What about you, Lilian?
If we look back on 2020, you could see that before the pandemic, it was the hustle to the cloud, the transformation sort of journey. Now we can see that the demands in the market is, after they've been in the cloud for a while, they have been, let's say, adopting the new transition and the new way of work, an example in Azure services. So the demand now from the market is more competencies and more experience, more hands-on on Power Platform, Power Apps, automation, and data, how to actually use your data to your advantage.
Thank you very much. And actually you covered my next question also. It was about looking forward. So then I ask Morten both questions. So what happened in terms of cloud technologies project in some last period of time? And what are your prognosis? What could be trending in 2021 and further in Visma?
Sure. So in Visma, we have been in Azure for many years. So last year we spent quite some time on some modernization projects in the cloud. So moving from the kind of legacy cloud services to more modern things like the web apps, service fabric, containerizing workloads, and using, for example, Kubernetes services. We also have quite a few products that are still on-premise based, so we want to move those to the cloud. So we have some migration projects running. all the way from kind of lift and shift operations to more cloud-native rewrites. We're also looking into some interesting opportunities using, for example, Windows Virtual Desktop for actually serving desktop apps over the cloud. We've also been focusing quite a bit on serverless the last year, and we have also built some interesting, for example, public APIs, fully serverless, using API management services and Azure Functions. For the future, I think we still want to look more into serverless and exploiting that even more. I think we're also working quite a bit with cloud security, raising awareness internally about that. I think that's very important to be able to deliver services and products securely from the cloud. I also think that we start to use more and more containerization and to really learn how to do that effectively in the cloud and using the native service offerings like Azure Kubernetes Service and so on.
Awesome. So if I was asked to extract 3 keywords from your answers about what's trending, I believe this could be data, migration, and cloud native. And I can say that it pretty much correlates with what we experience in Microsoft, and yeah, from my personal experience, it's also a very trending set of the topics on developer technology scene. Awesome. Now we know what to learn. Let's jump to the point on how to learn this. And I kindly ask you to briefly introduce learning initiatives you have in your companies. And let's actually extend the question. So as large companies, you might also take active part in upscaling of your company partners. So let's cover both topics. How does this work in CRION?
In CRION, like when I introduced myself, I represent the indirect part of CRION. So we are skilling our partners, indirect partners. The demands from the partners is, let's say, moment skilling, the time, let's say the demands from their end customers, that's the way that their skilling is formed. The tension in the market to deliver scalable services. So the way that we skill them is that we listen. Since time is of essence, they usually don't have the time to have full days or weeks off just to do skilling alone. But we do believe in learning by doing. So we are helping them to transform while we learn with them, and that they can learn from us as an advisor and also from our skilled personnel. So, and we have a known program for our partners. We have a cloud skill development program that's for the Nordics in general, but that is short sessions on topic like Azure, automation, Power Platforms, moments skilling that they need to be motivated to think different and probably build different.
Awesome. Learning by doing. I really love this statement, and it's cool that you have a full-scale program for partners of CRION. How does this work in Visma? What kind of learning activities, initiatives, motions do you have?
Yeah, so this will be kind of more internal in Visma, of course. We are running these monthly experience sharing forums across many different topics, but of course also for Azure, where we do internal experience sharing when we haven't had some interesting experiences, for example. We can also invite external people, of course, also to share their knowledge about some particular topics in these forums. We're also running a series of Visma talks, internal talks that are open for the entire company about a range of different topics, where we usually invite some good external speakers to teach us about some topics. Last year, we've also had access to the Enterprise Skills Initiative from Microsoft, which we have really tried to utilize. It's been a very good program that we have been able to extract a lot of learning from. We also tried a little bit to have some gamification, some competitions, right? And together with Microsoft last month, we did a cloud skill challenge, which was a really, really cool way to create some engagement around learning and have some fun while we were learning.
Awesome. Thanks for mentioning programs from Microsoft. And let's dive deeper into the details. So after all, intention of the session is to provide very practical advice and recommendations to all the participants. So who is defining the learning plan for your company? Who is nurturing the learning and upskilling culture? And here I talk both about some formal job titles or maybe informal leaders, champs, ambassadors. For myself, I can say that I definitely involved in external learning as a developer engagement lead, but also I take part in helping my colleagues to learn and upskill and complete mandatory trainings as a learning champion, myself in Microsoft Norway. So how does this work in your companies, folks? Lilian?
Let's say the learning, it's driven by the end customers. Our partners are driven by their end customers' needs and demands. Mm-hmm. So that's how their learning path is also created. Mm-hmm. Most of them are living in a hybrid environment, adopting to the cloud, scaling in the cloud. Mm-hmm. How to build new applications, new services, quality and time to market, faster time to market. Mm-hmm. And at Crayon, we have a highly set skilled of human resources that are inspiring and motivating each other. Mm-hmm. To always be cutting edge. So at Crayon, we are a very, let's say, a high skilled company that also appreciates motivation and new thinking.
But if we dive deeper, so you mentioned this cloud challenge, or how that's called, cloud skills challenge plan, or for the partners?
Cloud skill development program.
Yes, cloud skill development. So who is building this program? Is this a department within Crayon or some person? So how does this work?
Well, the learning paths and let's say the topics that's driven by the market. Our partners is driven by their end customers and their demands. So usually learning paths are defined and let's say picked by the end customers because that's the demand in the market. So what we did on our Crayon Cloud Development Program, it's we took the feedback from our partners and we built a content that they have responded well to. It's a 10-day program where you can pick and choose your topic. And we have used our own resources to build that kind of content, but also Microsoft MVPs that also is running the sessions. So it's a high quality sessions every day.
Awesome. And how about Visma, who is defining your plan and help to build this?
Yeah, it's a little bit different things, really. Visma is a large company consisting, of course, of a lot of relatively autonomous companies and subsidiaries which do some learning activities in their own context. But we also have a central department called the Visma Tech Hubs, where I'm working. In the Tech Hubs, we have hubs for different kind of areas of interest. So, for example, cloud and technology is one of those hubs where I work. And we deliver kind of content, trainings, we host these experience sharing forums and so on. So we act as kind of hubs for this kind of knowledge in the company. And we help, for example, facilitate knowledge sharing if a team from one company has some kind of problem which we know that a team in another company knows about, then we can put them together actually. One thing that we introduced last year and we continued to expand on this year is what we call a ninja program, which is an interesting thing. It's kind of an informal type of role. Anyone in the company can actually be appointed as a ninja for a specific topic. It's typically a person that is, well, relatively highly competent and a person that is willing to share and teach others. So these people, they become kind of natural go-to people for questions, discussions about their particular topic.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what I personally learned from your answers, folks, is to listen to the market, what happens there, and gather feedback from partners. Then involve all highly skilled folks to help, including Microsoft MVPs, and also to collaborate to organize hubs to share the learnings and findings, and running some cool informal programs like this Ninja you mentioned. It's a great idea, I love this. Learning is taking time, and there is always challenge to find this time, right? We all have the work to do on our, let's say, day-to-day projects, right? And normal question I hear from multiple companies during our calls about learning and upskilling is how to find the time, how to dedicate some hours or maybe days for the learning. And I want to hear your recommendations, my dear guests, on how that works in your companies. I will start from myself. In Microsoft, we try to block some learning hours, for example, 1 day per week, and also we have full learning days. Normally it happens quarterly, and of course it's not just a day of just sitting and learning. No, first we definitely try to ask people to clean their calendars, to not be distracted by calls and meetings, but at the same time we try to provide some interesting agenda in addition to just say quiet learning hours. We want to find someone who will share their best practices, their recommendation on how to learn this or that topic, how to get prepared to this or that exam. So we try to somehow gamify and maybe even to provide some socialization during this day. So how does this work in Crayon and Visma?
Well, at Crayon, we listen to the partner ecosystem, and we have to look at the partner ecosystem consists of very small partners up to very large partners. Mm-hmm. So the time spent on skilling is also for them time that's precious to handle their customers. So we are true believers of learning by doing. So projects driven into a skilling path, I think, and to transfer competency while doing. That's more fun, more motivating, and much more interesting than a textbook example. So, and that also gives them the, let's say, they're doing the job, but also learning something new. So, and a lot of partners need to combine the two. They cannot, it's going to be hard for a lot of partners to have, let's say, a week off for skilling. So they need to find solutions where they can get both.
Absolutely. Wow, I love that approach. And of course, it requires some skilled mentor or coach. And I believe you dedicate some people from Crayon side, right? To
yes.
Guide folks from your partners through this skilling, learning by doing.
Yes, we do have a lot of resources that's available for our partners, especially in the 3 clouds for Microsoft, the Dynamics part, M365, and Modern Work and Security, and Azure. So that's available to them if they need technical pre-sales or they need somebody to help them find their information in the jungle of Microsoft.
Yes, sometimes it can be a jungle, right? It's so many offerings and so many services and products. Yeah, I think this is very, very practical advice. So instead of purely learning, it's learning by doing. Definitely something I will notice for myself. What about Visma?
Yeah, so of course we have these recurring problems as well with prioritizing time between burning down the backlog and spending time on skilling and training. But we think it's really important that we invest in learning and we spend time for that. I think particularly in the cloud context, where we see one of the great benefits of the cloud is the kind of high innovation rate and then constant stream of new features and services. You need to kind of stay up to date, learn about those features to be able to use them to your advantage. So in Visma we also have a similar thing as you mentioned, Maxime, with these Your Development Days, we call them. So that's something we have been doing for some years, where you block off a day every other week or once a month at least, and spend that on your own training initiatives. Also, we have kind of a culture where we love to learn and we encourage everyone in Visma to learn. So all the way from kind of your personal development plan, we encourage people to put learning goals there and spend time on that.
And my next question is, what could you advise to the managers or to decision makers or to those who just plan to have this learning as a lifestyle culture in the company? So if you're manager, what could you start with, or how can you extend all these efforts? Lilian.
Well, I think it's important first and foremost to find out where your people are at and where they want to go. What's their motivation? Find projects that they can do both learning and doing. Live cases, live, let's say, challenges. I think that is a very, very good, let's say, outpost for start to learn and also to drive motivation. But I think that most importantly is that as managers that we do acknowledge that skilling competencies is investment in the human resource. And at Crayon, that's very important to invest in the human resource. So I think having an open communication and find out what is motivation and what can you as manager do to feed that motivation. I think that's most important.
Fair enough. Morten?
Yeah, lots of good points, Lilian. I think that is very important to realize that technical people and developers, they need to kind of develop themselves, learn new things to grow and thrive. So I think as managers, you need to build up under that, create a nice environment for learning, maybe help them put the learning goals in a context a little bit, like if we're looking into these or these technologies, then we need to skill up on that, for example. Yeah, and I think to have some fun with learning and create some engagement and for example with these competitions, maybe have some leaderboards and gamification. I think that's a good idea.
Thanks for sharing your recommendations. If I can sum your answers up, this will be about learning and skilling. This is investment. This is not spending of your efforts, time, money. It's investment you have to do to stay relevant as a company. Then you have to find clear motivation and based on that build this learning path or learning journey. And after all, don't forget to make it fun, to make it desired, to somehow gamify this. Now, I want to ask very personal questions, and it's about what's coming on your agenda. What are you going to learn personally in the next few weeks or months or maybe this year? I will start answering from myself. My plan is to go through SC900 certification. It's about identity, compliance and security in the cloud. So what about my dear guests? Lilian?
Well, thank you for having me, Maxime. My plans is to have the certification MS500, that's Security and Administration. So we'll see if I'll pass by this summer.
Awesome. And you, Morten?
Yeah, so I spent the full last week doing the ASET 303 course. So I'll spend the next weeks reading up on that material and hopefully pass the certification exam before summer.
Nice plan, folks, and good luck to all of us to succeed at the upcoming examinations. And thank you very much, dear attendees, for watching this local connection from Norway at Microsoft Build. I hope we inspired you to deploy learning as a lifestyle culture in your companies. I hope that you are now equipped with all the right tools and techniques to implement this kind of thinking in your teams, departments, companies. And after all, I hope that you want to learn and upskill both on cloud tech and technologies in general, and maybe non-technical things, something to always learn, something to stay curious about. And that's a wrap. Thank you very much for watching us. Stay tuned, always learn.